Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities, including October 7th, even while they refuse to release the hostages or accept a ceasefire. Instead of giving to Hamas and giving so much, because they have taken so much, this could have been solved so long ago. But instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now.
California Governor Gavin Newsom's attempt to block authorities from wearing masks during immigration enforcement operations is facing legal scrutiny as critics push back on the governor's effort to assert power over federal officers.
ICE, unmask. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? You're going to go out and you're going to do enforcement? Provide an ID. Tell us which agency you represent. Provide us basic information that all local law enforcement is required to provide.
Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons says he wishes the governor cared as much about protecting law enforcement as he does protecting criminals.
I wish the governor would lobby for legislation to help protect people of law enforcement, not just the men and women of ICE, but all law enforcement. You see FBI agents, DEA, ATF having to do the same thing because there are these groups that are out there just doxing agents all the time. And I really wish the governor would want to do something joint, stand with us and say, hey, we're going to protect the men and women of law enforcement. But no, he wants to go ahead and work to shield criminal illegal aliens that are causing havoc in the United States. That's what frustrates me the most.
Antifa is now on the clock. President Trump has designated the group a domestic terrorist organization. Here's White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
As President Trump has promised, he will directly address the dark sources funding and supporting this domestic terrorism to finally restore order in our country. The American people can expect further, very strong action on this very soon. Everyone, Republican, Democrat, everyone in between, we all deserve to live in a country where we do not have to fear for our lives simply for stating what we believe in.
Documents out of the FBI show now Senator Adam Schiff and former FBI Director James Comey leaked fake news stories to mainstream news outlets in an effort to take out the sitting president of the United States.
Real Clear Investigations reports leaked FBI documents show people close to Jim Comey and Adam Schiff were feeding reporters false information meant to advance the Russiagate hoax. A couple of those reporters won Pulitzer Prizes for the misinformation. Gary Bauer of American Values says it should be one of the biggest scandals in U.S. history.
The level of corruption that we suspected, but now we know for certain, that people like Adam Schiff and others were engaged in, literally an attempt to take down a duly elected president.
But he says, as usual, Comey and Schiff are getting a pass from the mainstream media.
This evidence is so overwhelming, and yet any attempt to hold them accountable, the major media is describing as some sort of personal vendetta by President Trump against his detractors.
Bauer says in his mind it rises to the level of treason, but it's extremely hard, he says, to convict elected officials of a crime.
There are all sorts of impediments and complications that will make it hard to get a conviction.
Bauer says the Senate could take action against now California Senator Schiff, but that would take some political will from Senate Majority Leader John Thune. I'm Steve Jordahl.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty P.
In a time where the essence of marriage and the family unit is being reshaped and challenged, comes an event that aims to integrate biblical truth into a discipleship model, forging stronger bonds within your family through a coherent, reasoned defense of your faith. For more information and to reserve your spot, visit us at ses.edu/national-conference. The Steadfast National Conference on Christian Apologetics and Evangelism, where faith meets reason, culture, and community.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR, and we appreciate it very much. I'm Tim Wildmon with Wesley Wildmon. Good morning, Wesley.
Good morning. Looking forward to today's issues.
It's all good news.
When you got today, I was about to say welcome to today, but then today's and today's issues.
Well,
so,
you could say welcome to today's issues.
That's what I did. But that was the reason for the pause.
You had to put a comma
That
there.
was the reason for the comma.
All right, pause. Chris Woodward. Good morning, Brother Chris.
Good morning.
And Ray Pritchard. Good morning, Ray.
Hey, good morning, Tim. How you doing today?
Thunderstorms in Kansas City today,
man.
huh?
Oh,
it's going to rain a lot?
It's going to rain a lot, but we need it, right? It's been a little parched up here. So, yeah, it's coming down, and it's at least through tonight. But I think most of us are glad to see it.
Not tornadic weather, is it? Just some rain, thunderstorms?
Yeah, I was looking, no real alerts, nothing like that. So we're going to be fine.
All right. Well, again, folks, thanks for listening. Ray's in Kansas City. We're in Tupelo, MS, and we thank you for listening wherever you may be. Lot to talk about today in the news. Chris, what's our first story?
Well, President Donald Trump, the leader of the free world, is giving remarks at the UN. It looks like he may have just wrapped up, but he gave a lengthy speech, and at the beginning of his remarks, the president talked about his efforts to try to get a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Clip 11.
As everyone knows, I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Have to get that done. Have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities, including October 7th, even while they refuse to release the hostages or accept a ceasefire. Instead of giving to Hamas and giving so much, because they've taken so much, this could have been solved so long ago. But instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now.
That's President Trump speaking this morning to the United Nations. Is that do you know, Chris, is that an annual scheduled talk that, I think it is, isn't it?
It is, yes. And a number of world leaders are going to be speaking
Boy,
today.
he sounds tired to me. Doesn't he sound weak? His voice I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Now, he's 79 years old. I'm talking about President Trump, right? Did you notice his voice is?
He's 79. He keeps, Tim, an almost impossible schedule.
Yes.
They say what? He's up until 1 o'clock in the morning. He may sleep 3-4 hours a night. If you were 35, his schedule would wear you out.
Yeah.
Well,
think about it.
Yeah.
You think about it in just the last week. He and the First Lady and their whole White House entourage went over to England and had about, 2 or 3 days over there?
Right.
With a demanding schedule. Yes, I know that they're served everything on a silver platter. That is true. You got first class flight on Air Force One. You're staying at Buckingham Palace. So everything's taken care of from that perspective. However, just the travel alone for anybody but a 79-year-old man, and then you fly back to the States, and then you go out to Arizona for a 4 to 6 hour, an all day really, practically speaking, by the time the president gets there. I'm talking about the Charlie Kirk Memorial.
Right.
And then he speaks there, and now he's speaking at the United Nations. It's no wonder your voice sounds weaker, because he, no doubt, is physically tired.
He's got to be.
Yeah.
He's got to be weary and worn out.
Yeah.
I don't remember the number, but he has done more interviews by a large portion compared to other presidents, both Republicans and Democrats combined.
Yeah,
he does more interviews. And does more speakings. Right. Even if it's the 15-minute one right before he enters back into the White House. Then the press,
talking to the press corps
right there.
Yeah.
So,
Gaggles is what Fred calls him.
That's right, Gag. I will say this though. I thought the same thing when I was hearing his voice, which still could be true. But we're also now watching him, and he doesn't look as tired as his voice sounds. So, but I mean,
yeah, he's
but he's very. We've mentioned this before in the program. He is. It is hard to even compare him to anything else, regardless of whether he's a president or not.
He's a freak of nature.
He's a freak of nature. I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
No question about it.
He's a category unto himself.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, for a guy his age to be doing what he's doing here is just remarkable.
He's also very bold because he went on to say, and he said this before, but mind you, he's standing in front of the UN, which has been telling everybody for my entire lifetime to curb their emissions because of climate change or global warming, whatever we need to call it today. This is an actual quote from the president today. Quote, "It used to be called global cooling, then they said global warming, so now they just call it climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world. All of these predictions made by the UN and many others were wrong." Yes. I kid you not. He went on to say, people are saying we got to get rid of cows. We're not going to get rid of cows. This is at the UN today.
UN, yes. Yes, this is not a red meat rally.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So we went from polished President Trump to MAGA, a few minutes later.
This is not a chapter on how to win friends and influence people. He's just laying down some facts, whether you like it or not.
Yep. Also, I want to watch the whole talk because it's not really a talk. It's a formal speech. Now, with Trump, you got a formal speech, and then he goes off. He goes off script.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's the best parts usually. But no, he has excellent speech writers, and he does a good job reading their speeches. But obviously, the speech writers, whichever president has, agrees with the policy of the president. Now, three things here. I didn't know the global warming. See if you can get that sometime, maybe. The global warming, global cooling, now I call it global change. I would love to hear that.
Yeah. Steve, if you're listening to the show, I'm going to email you the link to that audio, and you can roll on that.
Okay. But he also was there to talk about a couple things. I'm reading from CNN right now. They say he's talking about uncontrolled migration creating problems for Western nations. Mm-hmm. What he's talking about is now he's going to be called a racist for that.
Sure.
Right.
Okay. He's going to be called a racist for that, but it wouldn't be the first time.
Right.
What he's talking about is Europe has allowed millions of people to migrate into their continent from the Middle East and from, in particular, Northern Africa. Because, who knows all the reasons, Ray? But I know that a lot of people want to escape and get into Europe for the economic opportunities it provides over the places they come from. Often war torn and impoverished. I'm talking about the other. So, but these people who migrate also bring a lot of their culture with them. And their religious beliefs, Islam, for example, Islam. So they bring Islam into Europe, and that brings a lot of changes. Okay, so anyway, that's what he's talking about, and not to mention the strain on the citizens of those European countries that have to pay for a lot of social services.
Right.
That they provide. So.
And they've been very sympathetic to the Muslim Sharia law, their way of a lot of them apply Sharia law. And they've been very sympathetic toward that, and they're reaping the consequences of it.
10%, as I understand it, Ray, of France is now Muslim, basically imported from.
Yeah, you can say demographics don't matter, Tim, but that's nuts. That's crazy. If you bring Muslims in, and you bring them in at the rate by the million.
Right.
I mean, Tim, how many millions do you have to get 10% in France?
Not to mention the UK and Sweden and
right.
Switzerland and Germany and all those. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And it does make
Italy.
It does make a difference that they're also not spread out. They're congregating in areas and they're taking over communities. And when you do that, we always say power. There's power in numbers. Well, when they're all concentrated in one area and then they expand from there, that's the reason in these European countries they have legit no-go zones, because the Muslims have taken over and they have their own way of policing.
Yeah, it's a subculture there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ray. You were going to say?
Well, look, France is a historically great European nation, center of culture, of the arts, Tim, going back centuries.
Oh, yeah.
And what you do when you bring in people from a completely different culture and a completely different background, pretty soon you risk losing the very thing that made your nation great. And to Wesley's point, I think that's already happening in parts of France.
See,
and I don't know how do you
reverse that?
How do you reverse that?
I don't know that you can. You combine that with the zero birth rate among European natives, and you're talking about 10, 20, 30 years from now, you're talking about a big shift in Europe. So, yeah. And you know what you pointed out, Ray, I think you used the word, or Wesley did, these mostly Muslim immigrants from Africa and from the Middle East to Europe, millions and millions and millions of them have come in the last 20 years. As I said, a lot of them to escape an impoverished place that they live. They come to escape persecution themselves in the countries they leave. So their motives are not all. They're not bad necessarily, but nonetheless, neither are the motives of most of the people who come to the U.S. are not bad either. But that doesn't mean those said countries, Europe, I know that's a continent, but the countries in Europe, or the United States, for example, we can't absorb the world's poor and needy. You can't do that. You sink. It's like a boat. You can't.
Well, then your own citizens
rebel. Yeah, they suffer, and then people rebel and get mad. That's part of the MAGA movement.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
People saying we can't just fly open our borders to whoever in the world wants to come here. And the Democrats said, "Oh yes, we can. Mm-hmm. The world is welcome here." Remember Biden saying that. We don't want borders. He didn't say it like that, but that's in essence what his policy did. You remember when Biden was elected and the switch was made from? I said Biden was elected. Don't get me started on that. Yeah. But when Biden became president, how about that?
That's what Sandy said. Took the oath of office.
When he took the oath of office, remember he did away with all President Trump's policies regarding the border and just said, everybody come on in. We'll take care of everybody in the world. And the voters in America, then after 4 years of that, said, "Whoa, just a minute, we can't do this, and this is insane." And but anyway, one other point about this, and then you can comment. Here's where the media. Here's what they're going to do. A lot in the liberal media, what Ray said and what you said, Wesley. The people that are coming in. This is what the reason I'm bringing it up is President Trump spoke to this directly today at the United Nations, warning European nations, Western nations, about accepting millions and millions of people from different culture and different background. Has nothing to do with the color of their skin. Different culture, different background, and the culture is related to their religion.
Right.
Okay, it's intertwined. So when you have, Western Europe in particular, European countries are basically democracies. They're representative governments. They generally subscribe to free speech and freedom of religion and freedom of movement and those kinds of things. Where these folks are coming from in Africa and in Middle East to Europe, They don't believe in those things. Now, you might say, well, they're escaping those places to come to more freedom and liberty and a better way of life. You know what's interesting to me too, Ray, is why don't we see millions of Europeans immigrating into Africa?
Right.
Yeah. Why, or to the Middle East? Why is this working in reverse? Because if you go back and look at it, the Judeo-Christian heritage of Europe brings forth a better way of life, a more appealing way of life to the average person, whether they're religious or not, as opposed to living under Sharia law, like in a lot of Muslim countries. Go ahead.
Well, Tim, the Judeo-Christian worldview produces prosperity, produces competition, produces beauty, produces order, produces democracy, produces freedom,
right.
Produces a society that actually is beautiful, that people want to be a part of. Now, this is a point Francis Schaeffer, the point I'm saying is this is kind of a Francis Schaeffer sort of point. And he always said, in this life, on this side of the second coming, you're never going to see the Christian worldview perfectly played out in any nation. But Tim, there is a difference between the culture of the United States, the culture of Europe, historically speaking, and what we see in the Middle East. A drastic difference, and it goes back to worldview. Where you start from, frankly, determines where you're going to end up.
That's right.
A couple things I wanted to share. I read a book back in 2016, so it's been a while, but these are numbers that come. I'm going to give out some numbers in no particular order that share the danger of Islam as it relates to those that are most radicalized, which makes up about 15% of 2 billion. So you got 2 billion people that profess to be Muslims, and 15% of them would raise their hand and classify themselves as radicalized. 15%.
Right.
Not sure what that number is. That's a lot, though. Mm-hmm. Here's a couple things. The book that I'm reading from here is called Well Versed by Jim Garlow. It says this: as of this writing, which in 2016, there were 28,348 deadly Islamic terrorist attacks since 9/11.
In the world.
Yeah. In the world. A couple other things here. 450 out of the 452 suicide terrorists claimed Islam. 450 out of 452 claimed and said, I'm doing this on behalf of Islam. Well, a few other things. At least 95% of ongoing wars have roots in Islam. And so just a couple things here. When you think about these types of things, it's one thing. I understand what you were saying, and I completely that there are people, just like the southern border, just like in Islam, that are leaving countries to have
they want a better life.
The majority of them, that may be the case. But what's left out in that conversation for the left is the 15% who do take that does take the Quran very seriously, and their version of discipleship is to eliminate the infidel and literally to take over from a government standpoint.
Yeah,
and so that's something. Those are numbers dating back to 2016.
Okay, you said, Chris, that we have the clip now.
Yes, thanks to Steve Jordahl. He got us this audio of President Trump referring to climate change or global warming as a quote con job.
You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world, but then it started getting cooler, so now they could just call it climate change, because that way they can't miss. It's climate change, because if it goes higher or lower, whatever happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling, all of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. if you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything.
That was not AI at all.
That was not AI.
That's right. No.
What that was classic Trump.
That was
what that was. Classic Trump. Now, I want to ask y'all to do me a favor, and please do not spend the next 10 minutes on his last sentence.
Okay.
All right.
What did he say?
We need to hang out. If we're going to spend any more time on his UN speech, let's hang out on the front half, which is him calling the UN to the mat and saying to them, while they're there in the same room with them, that whoever came up with this green scam is y'all are dumb, and you've cost your countries a fortune.
Yeah,
you've cost your country a fortune, and y'all are dumb.
Listen, I couldn't agree with him more.
I know.
Yeah,
I mean, and what he's saying right there, that's got Stephen Miller written all over it.
Absolutely,
yeah, it does,
doesn't it? Stephen Miller's his number one policy guy. Wouldn't you say? The guy's brilliant.
Yeah, for sure.
The guy's brilliant. He spoke at the Charlie Kirk Memorial. But listen, and I don't know what percentage. I would say probably the majority, or maybe 60-70% of the American public agree with him on this. And I would say this: global warming may or may not happen, but it's not because we in the U.S. drive SUVs
or eat ground beef.
Are we ground beef?
I know that's the first.
Yeah, because example, cows, the methane, and it's listen, and how come it's just the burden seems to always be on the United States to have all these rules and regulations.
Mm-hmm.
We have the cleanest environment in the world.
Amen. We do.
In our country, we already have rules and regulations having to do with pollution.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've seen the list before. We're not even in the top 20 as being a problematic.
No, go talk to India and China if you want to go talk to people.
I was going to mention them as they're in the top 3 for sure, and it is awful.
Oh yeah,
we're not even.
They don't have an EPA,
no.
the Environmental Protection Agency over in India. Or
you should see some of their shorelines, some of their ocean lines. It's awful.
They're the ones that supposedly are largely to blame for things like plastic in the ocean.
Oh, 100%.
Because they just chunk it in there.
Yeah, the whole plastic straw movement in the U.S. that pretty much it was a dud. The plastic straw movement, getting rid of it in the it was in California. California's trying to they did get rid of plastic straws. That one is minuscule compared to the plastic that's thrown in the ocean from Asia.
Right.
I think one of the reasons why they like to sound the alarm over what they call climate change or global warming is because they like to get together at some resort once a year to talk about how it's a problem. And they all can hobnob and rub elbows with one.
But the messaging did change. It was called global warming.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yes, right.
When Al Gore, he popularized this back in the 80s and the 90s, Al Gore did.
That's right.
And they called it global warming. Remember that?
They did. I do.
And then they said, these environmental, what Rush Limbaugh called them environmental wackos, got in a room somewhere and go, guys, it's not warming. It's not the thing we said it was. So
we can't scare people with that.
Yeah, we got to change it. What do we go with? I got an answer: climate change. That way it's a I win. Heads I win, tails you lose.
Right,
Right.
And so he's right. Trump's right to call them out on this change that they. And I remember Time magazine in the 1970s said the coming ice age. I remember that cover on that magazine.
Trump's not bragging that he's right about everything.
Very humble fella.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildmon.
A lady by the name of Ethelwyn Weatherall sat down one day and wrote a little poem. It expresses a beautiful thought that we need. Here's what she wrote. My orders are to fight. Then if I bleed or fail, or strongly win, what matters it? God only doth prevail. The servant craveth naught except to serve with might. I was not told to win or lose. My orders are to fight. It's good to remember that today in the world in which we live. It seems the measure of a person today is not that he fight for what is right, but that he succeed. Success. That's what we all want, and many are willing to pay dearly for. Success. That's what makes a person. Success. That's what rules the world. Funny how we can take things and twist them to suit us and our conceptions, isn't it? The coach who is the greatest coach today is the one who wins the most games, not the one who teaches sportsmanship and clean play and love of the game. The doctor who is a success today is the one who drives the biggest car and lives in the largest mansion. The businessman who is a success today is the one who can have the biggest store or make the most money off of a product. The politician who is a success today is the one who can get elected the most times to a higher office. Even the preacher of today is not a success unless he serves the largest church. One man, who is counted a failure by the standards of the world, once said that the way to success was to serve. The greatest among you shall be the one who serves the most, he said. And we've taken this and made it imply that we had to win. Win at all cost, win. You are a failure if you do not win. I think we need to go back and get a few things in proper perspective about the faith of the Nazarene. He never once told us that we could expect success as the world measures success. He didn't even hint at it. If anything, we can expect the world to laugh at us and call us crazy and old-fashioned and prudish and stupid and about anything else they can think to call us. But we think we have to win, and this has brought about a damaging attitude of compromise. We can't rid the world of addictive drugs or stop some people from using them, so we make it attractive. We can't rid the world of lust, so let's dress it up and put it in an expensive magazine and put it on the stands for all to buy. We can't keep men from using the name of God in vain, so let's use it in the movies and on the air and in all of our speech. Compromising is one of the deadliest sins of our day. A man by the name of Abraham Lincoln once said it in these words, "I'm not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I'm not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live up to what light I have. I must stand with anybody that stands right, stand with him while he is right, and part with him when he goes wrong." Is it any wonder we say that he was a great man?
This has been My Turn with Don Wildmon, a production of the American Family Association.
In him we were also chosen, having been predestined according to the plan of him who works out everything in conformity with the purpose of his will. Ephesians 1, verse 11.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Wesley, Chris, and Ray. And, of course, we talk about current events and political stuff and all that, and what's happening in our country and in the world. We've been talking this morning about President Trump's speech this morning before the United Nations. But, when you get down to what our number one priority is here at American Family Radio, and that is telling people about God and his son, Jesus Christ. And how that can change, the Lord will change your life if you will submit to him. Mm-hmm. So this morning we have a guest on who's in studio with us, whose life has been changed by Jesus Christ, and she's here to tell about it, and also what she's doing in the pro-life cause. And she shared her testimony with us briefly this morning in our staff devotion. Shaylene Burlage. Good morning, Shaylene.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So appreciate you being on with us. Now, you're here. Your organization is called Love Life Alabama, right?
Love Life.
Love Life, but you're from Alabama.
Right. I'm the director of Love Life Alabama.
But Love Life's a national.
Yes, sir.
But you're over the Alabama chapter.
Exactly.
Okay. Tell me, I want to get into your story, but tell me what the purpose of Love Life is. It called just Love Life?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Love Life, the Love Life organization. You're the Alabama chapter director. You're from Birmingham.
Yes, sir.
Right. But tell us the purpose of Love Life.
We unite and mobilize the church to create a culture of love and life that will end the abortion and the orphan crisis. We believe that the church is the answer. Legislation is not going to change it.
Okay. Legislation has its role, but
it's not going to end it.
But abortion's still illegal in many parts of America and most parts of America. So you have to reach the young lady who's
facing unplanned pregnancy.
Yeah, okay, so that's the purpose of the organization. Now, take us back, because you shared your testimony. You lived in
Indiana,
in Indianapolis, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, tell us your story a little bit.
Well, in 2006, I was homeless, addicted to drugs in my 30s, and I had been out there for about a year and a half, and so
you were
times
homeless?
were not good.
Just living
yes,
on
sir.
the streets of Indianapolis?
Yes, my main focus 100% was on drugs.
You just lived for the next fix?
That was it. There was nothing else.
Wow. Anything you want to tell us about what led to that? I don't want to.
Well, sure. I mean, I'm an open testimony. My story I share. I became pregnant when I was 15, and I had an abortion, and that just started a spiral effect. Then I had my second one when I was 18.
Second abortion? How many abortions did you have?
I ended up having 4.
Okay.
Which is why I ended up homeless, addicted to drugs.
Yeah, this is why we wanted to talk about how God radically changes somebody's destiny. That's what happened to you. Okay, so you're drug addicted, living on the streets of Indianapolis as a woman. That's dangerous, by the way. You know that. I mean, you live that. Very dangerous. But I guess when you're addicted to drugs, everything just sort of is a fog.
Right.
Right. So what happened to you? How did you get out of that? You told me this morning, you told the staff this morning, you were living in a...
well, I wasn't living.
You weren't living there. You're spending the night or sleeping at a home,
an
abandoned home?
apartment at a housing authority complex. I was walking down the street, and I had a car out there. It was falling apart around me, and the police got tired of seeing me roll around the neighborhood with my car. And so as soon as the tags expired, they took my car. That night, I'm walking down the street, and a van pulled up and hands me a flyer and says, "Sister, when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, give us a call." Well, I knew that I was at a point without my car that things were going to drastically change.
Now, this is what year?
In 2006.
Okay.
So I knew that things were going to drastically change without my car, because people want rides, and they pay in drugs if they want to ride. And so I had that to fall back on. But without that, things were going to drastically change. And that night, I'm walking down the street, and the van pulls up, hands me the flyer, and says that. I took the flyer and kept it moving, went into an abandoned apartment at the housing authority. Nobody was there. Nobody came in all night. And I laid on this old dirty mattress on the floor of that apartment, pulled out that flyer, and it said, "If you have family problems, drug problems, alcohol problems, then first call on Jesus." I was in my 30s. I hadn't done that. And I just said, "Lord, help me," with an open heart. And he removed the addiction from me immediately. I got sleep that night. Nobody showed up to that drug house that night. The next morning, I woke up, and the next line on that flyer said, "Then call us. We have a free Christian women's home."
Is that what you did?
Yes, sir, I did. They were in Ohio.
Okay, so you went there?
For a year and a half.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions. How far was it from the location that you were? You said in Indianapolis.
Yes, sir.
To where the house was that they were willing to help you.
3 hours.
Oh wow.
They were just there to hand out flyers.
Oh, okay,
that's all they were doing. You just driving in drug addicted areas and looking.
So you gave your life to Jesus Christ?
I did. I gave my life to Jesus Christ, but then I said, "Lord, you can't forgive me. I took the lives of my children." and God audibly said to me, "Daughter, my son Jesus Christ died for you." So I knew I was forgiven.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so what happened then?
Well, I spent 1.5 years in that women's home in a bubble, just learning about Jesus, on fire for Christ. Went to church for 3 hours on Sundays, and you get a bunch of ex-drug addicts living for Jesus, and we were excited. I mean, we ran around.
Literally new life, not just eternally new life, but new life on earth. As John 10:10 says, he didn't come to just give us life eternally, but to give us life more abundantly here on this side of heaven, and that's what you were experiencing.
Oh, yes. We were so excited. I mean, we ran around with streamers. We worshiped. That's all we knew was excitement. We were so glad that we weren't doing
you
drugs
saw the
anymore.
darkest side of the world, and then God, Jesus Christ, brought the light of the world into your heart and life.
Yeah.
So you're in Ohio. You go through this program for 1.5 years. You live there. You're off drugs. You're giving your life to the Lord. You're looking for a new start. How do you end up from Indiana to Ohio to Birmingham?
Well, I'm from Birmingham. My mom has been in Birmingham. My family
so you
lived
grew
here
up there, or what?
Well, I moved here when I was 10, I'm in Mississippi. I moved to Birmingham when I was 10 and was just kind of all over the place. But my mom has been there 40 years, so I went back home. I call that my home.
Okay, you're love. You have the badge on. It says Love Life. We're talking to Shaylene Burlage. I get that right? Burlage?
Yes, close.
Okay.
Burlage.
Burlage. Okay, so I didn't get it right. But
well, you got a northern version and you got a southern version.
Right.
And then you have the French version, Burlage.
Burlage. Okay.
We're missing Ed for this one.
You're like me. People go, "Is it Wildmon?" And I go, "Yeah, whatever you want to call me."
Yes, right.
I'm here. So how did you get involved with Love Life, which is why you're here today, really, to talk to us?
Yes. So in 2016, I went through a abortion recovery Bible study. 2006, I was forgiven by the blood of Jesus Christ. My story wasn't anybody's business. I would never talk about it. But then in 2016, I went through a 12-week Bible study, and God's word healed my heart. So then the door was open for me I'm ready to share my testimony, because I don't want other men and women to go through what I went through.
Amen.
Mama, you don't have to do this. So I started going out to the abortion clinics to just say, hey, you don't have to do this. Well, Love Life was already doing that, and they still do that in the other cities where abortion is illegal at the clinics. And so,
what do you mean that you go Love Life? When we say Love Life, folks, we're talking about the name of the organization that Shaylene represents. How can people find out more about Love Life?
LoveLife.org.
Okay, LoveLife.org. LIFE. LoveLife.org. Okay, back to the so you go out to the
abortion clinics to just stand in the parking lot, at the entrance.
Okay.
And hey, Mom, that she has an appointment scheduled to take the life of her baby.
Do you
walk
up or you yell at them, or how do you do that exactly?
No, we don't yell at them.
Okay.
We want to show them the love of Christ.
Okay.
But before I was with Love Life, my ministry partner of a different ministry started doing that. That was our heart.
You were just doing this on your own before you joined Love Life.
You sound to me like you were so convicted.
Right.
And you had seen two totally different sides of the coin that you wanted to prevent others from going down the same path that you did.
Right.
Because you love them.
Right. It's the number one cause of death, 5 years in a row, over heart disease, cancer. Yes, abortion. There's been more aborted babies. 30% of our country is missing.
Wow.
Ray,
30%
of the world.
Ray, do you have a question for Shaylene?
I do. Shaylene, thank you, first of all, for sharing your story.
She's in Kansas City. She's looking around for you in the studio.
Right
she's like hearing voices.
Yeah.
She's not familiar with radio yet. Bless your heart, Shaylene. It's okay. Ray's in Kansas City. He's not the Wizard of Oz, okay? Right. But he is in Kansas.
That's right. I'm not a ghost. I'm not floating around in the air.
Okay.
But,
okay, now
Shaylene,
you got it now?
I got it.
Okay,
yes, sir. I'm on target.
Okay, go ahead, Ray.
First of all, thank you for sharing your testimony. Second, thanks for the wonderful work Love Life is doing. And you made an interesting statement, fascinating, really. You said passing laws, important as that may be, is not really the answer. On a personal level, you said the local church can make a difference. for all the pastors out there and Christian leaders out there listening to you, tell us how the local church can make a difference in helping women in these crisis pregnancies.
When I meet with pastors, I ask them, if someone facing unplanned pregnancy comes to you and says, hey, I need help, do you have a plan? And they all smile real big and say, yes, our plan is to send them to Save a Life. And that's a great plan. We want this pregnancy centers are needed.
The crisis pregnancy centers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then my next question is, but how are you getting them back into your church for discipleship? And that's where they hang their head low and say, we're not. How can we? And so we help equip the church to go out into the community. We ask the pastor to become a house of refuge. And what he does is he reads a house of refuge statement from the pulpit that clearly states where their church stands.
Amen.
For a pastor to just say, we're pro-life and my church is pro-life, that does nothing. It doesn't help anybody. There's no plan there. But this
it's
house,
a good thing, but it's not.
It is a good thing.
Feet to action, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this house of refuge statement that we have, pastors to become a house of refuge have to agree to read this a couple times a year. And this just clearly states, hey, our church is a safe place for men and women facing unplanned pregnancy. We will not talk about them, gossip about them, or hurt them. Not this church. And here's what we will do. We will connect them to the pregnancy center, to resources, and then we'll come alongside them and love on them. And Love Life goes in and trains people who want to be a mentor, people who want to lead abortion recovery classes. That is key. Abortion recovery for men and women who have faced the trauma of abortion is key. We have abortion recovery classes for men. My mom went through abortion recovery because she lost her grandchildren. She was devastated. And so she went through abortion recovery for those who suffer the trauma of someone else's abortion, which is just about everybody. Do any of you know someone who's had an abortion?
No, most people do.
Besides me? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you had 4, and then so your mom learned of that, and then she goes, well, I'm missing 4 grandchildren.
Right.
And she suffered because of that.
Right.
Yeah. So she went. So what is the website again for Love Life?
Lovelife.org.
Lovelife.org.
Wonderful.
All right, listen, thanks for driving over.
Thank you for having me.
Being with us here in Tupelo, 2 hours from Birmingham. Go ahead.
Well, there's one thing I want to say. You might be thinking, the listeners might be thinking, well, abortion is illegal in Alabama. Abortion is illegal in Mississippi. So why is that an issue? Well, I don't know if anyone's heard of the abortion pill. Mm-hmm. The abortion pill is available to be mailed at your door here in Mississippi and in Alabama up to 12 weeks of pregnancy. And so that accounts for at least 63% of all abortions now across the nation. And women are not seeing doctors. If they're more than 12 weeks pregnant, they just think in their own mind, well, I'll just take extra. It's causing lots of trauma, lots of damage. The women are at home. The abortion clinic is at home now in their bathroom. And they don't know what to do.
That's right.
It's horrible. And so there is something called the abortion pill reversal. Abortion pill is a 2-step process. After they take the first set of pills, within 48 hours, they can order the abortion pill reversal. Go to abortionpillreversal.com, and you can get the reversed pill.
You're talking about a woman who find out she's pregnant. What is that? Is that how the abortion pill last up? When does that have to be taken to take effect? Like up to 6 weeks or something? Do you know?
Well, the abortion pill will cause an abortion up to 12 weeks.
Really?
But
then listen, we're talking about things that are horrible to talk about, but so
they need to be talked about too.
Yeah, but I want people to understand, in case children are listening right now, because the question I'm about to ask, people are going to say, "Duh," I guess some people, but so you're saying that a lot of women who take this, they have to see the unborn baby.
Well, I mean,
right? I mean, it has to be extracted.
It comes out.
It comes out.
But they're alone usually.
So that causes trauma alone. You're
Yes.
saying a lot of times. Go ahead.
Much worse than what I experienced.
When you went to the abortion
Right.
clinic, okay. So they're alone, But wow,
the trauma from the abortion pill and what I've read about the potential side effects too are even worse from the trauma and the potential side effects than it was. That is the pill than it was going to the clinic.
Right. There's suicide rate is up.
Yep.
Yeah, because the what the pro-abortion or what they call themselves pro-choice side never wants to talk about is the spiritual dynamic.
Never.
Here, it also related to that is the psychological and emotional dynamic here, because it is unnatural to kill your baby.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
So I waited 30 years to reach out for help or to even say that I had an abortion. These women are reaching out immediately. And this is a 30-foot truck.
What you're showing me, people can't see this at home, but go ahead.
There's a 30-foot truck, LED truck, that's driving through our colleges. In Alabama, I know, this is at UAB, and the truck says abortion pills delivered to your door with the QR code. Where abortion is illegal, this is what's going through our college campuses. So I am now doing a Reach Her First campaign at our colleges to reach her first, because all they're hearing is abortion pill.
Yeah. So we're talking to Shaylene. Last name Shaylene. This is where I say your first name and you say your last name. You ready? Okay. We're talking to Shaylene
Burlage.
That's what I'm talking about. Here, that doesn't.
You got a great sense
right
of
there.
humor. You're handling them really well.
Right. That way, Tim doesn't have a chance to mispronounce Burlage. Right.
Right.
So give us. So how can people contact you if you want to give that in your office there in Alabama? Love Life is the organization that it's a national organization, but Shaylene is the representative in the state of Alabama for Love Life. How can they get in touch with you?
Shaylene, SHAYLENE @lovelife.org.
Okay, give that email address again.
SHAYLENE @lovelife.org.
Okay. Why do you do speaking? Do you come to churches or go to towns?
Yes.
Okay,
that's part of our
promote
ministry.
The ministry.
Yes, is to speak at churches, and we're able to talk from the pulpit. They're letting us in at the pulpit, because then the next step is for the congregation to go out and do evangelism 101 and say, hey, if you know anybody facing unplanned pregnancy, our church is a house of refuge. We know what to do. We equip the church and train the church, the people in the church. It's not another thing for the pastor to do other than read the statement. Then we do everything else within the congregation to equip them, because they need to be welcomed in, men and women, the lost, as they are.
Yeah. All right, Shaylene, thanks so much for being on with us. Welcome to our studios and offices here, and I know you got some other things to do here today.
You got some other interviews on too. So
Pastor Joseph Parker.
Yes, sir. And I did the stand with Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff Chambly. Okay, Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, you're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Wesley, Chris, and Ray. Ray, anything else you want to say about this topic before we move back to some other stories?
First of all, love what she said about pastors making a clear statement. One of our problems today is we have too many pastors, including pro-life pastors, who just don't want to speak out. They don't want to take a stand, and so church members are confused, and women in crisis can't get the help they need. So God bless Shaylene, and God bless Love Life, and Lord, give us an army of pastors who will speak up, because I think she's right about her central point is exactly right. We here talk a lot about the Supreme Court and abortion and pro-life, and we're going to keep on talking about that. But it's in the local church where real life change takes place, and I think we've got to have pastors to lead the way. So God bless her for that tremendous ministry.
Amen. All right, you're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. You guys following this Jimmy Kimmel story?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I never watched Jimmy Kimmel, and I'm going to do a survey here. I don't see any hands.
0 for 4.
I don't see 0 for 4 here.
0 for 4.
And I'm looking at our listening audience across radio land out there, and I don't see any hands raised.
Right.
So hardly anybody, if anybody at all, ever watches Jimmy Kimmel that listen to us. Okay, but most people know who he is because he's had a late night talk show on ABC for how long?
Several years.
10 to 20 years, something like that.
Probably 10.
He's been on the air for a long time. It's on the ABC television network.
He started in 2003. You were right. 20 years.
So over 20 years. Jimmy Kimmel. So he's been in the news lately because, of course, he's been a Trump hater for a long time.
Right.
Okay. He's just obsessed with spewing disparaging remarks about President Trump night after night after night after night. It's late night talk shows have become very, very political. It's not like the old Johnny Carson or, Jay Leno days when it was, if they did talk about politics, the ribbing was equally distributed among Republicans and Democrats, and it was generally good natured. But now it's just mean spirited, and it's so anyway. Jimmy Kimmel, after Charlie Kirk's assassination, Jimmy Kimmel went on his talk show on the ABC television network, owned by Disney, and he made some remarks that the killer of Charlie Kirk was a MAGA representative. So he was saying Charlie Kirk was killed by his own kin.
While people laughed.
Generally kin, and people laughed. So they're laughing about first of all, you're making a joke about something that's just happened, an assassination of a man and a father and a speaker and a conservative leader. And so you're making...
Even in comedy, we got to know better than that.
You can't do that.
Both sides, either way. You just got to wait. You got to wait.
Plus, he's factually incorrect.
That's true. It's a lie.
Correct.
He's factually incorrect. The guy who killed,
assassinated
Charlie Kirk was motivated by his hatred for Charlie Kirk and conservatives. Right? Have I got that right?
That's right. And the engravings on the bullets that he took time to write on bullets.
Right.
They had a fascist, Marxist, and
the killer was coming at this from a leftist ideology.
100%.
Okay.
And
Jimmy Kimmel acts like it's some kind of guy wearing a red MAGA hat. So it's just factually untrue, and he said this to his audience, and also making fun in a very serious moment. Completely inappropriate. Well, ABC canned him. Disney, ABC canned him, fired him immediately, suspended his show, which is, I can't think of that ever happening, because of his remarks.
Right.
And so he now this gets a little complicated. Disney owns ABC.
Correct.
Okay. ABC has affiliates.
Right.
Okay. Their affiliates are owned by companies themselves.
Right.
So you have something called Sinclair.
That's right.
And Nexstar.
And Nexstar, they're companies that own like 30, 40 ABC television stations, and they have a contractual agreement with Disney.
Sure.
Well, those companies that own like 70 or 80 ABC affiliates said, we're not taking Jimmy Kimmel back because we're not, and we don't want to, and for whatever reason, it was a business decision. And so that's been in the news. There's been a huge backlash against
then I missed this. So he did get offered to come back.
Yeah, he's back
they're
tonight.
saying though.
Yeah, Disney offered to bring him back, but these ABC affiliate owners said, no way.
Okay,
no way. Yeah. We'll be back with more in 5 minutes. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
Hey, if you're looking for family-friendly entertainment or resources to strengthen your walk with God, there's one name you should remember: American Family Studios. We don't just want to bring you shows, movies, and specials that will entertain or build up your family. We're committed to honoring God by making them both biblically sound and of the highest quality possible. Check us out at AmericanFamilyStudios.net.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. In his address to the United Nations General Assembly this morning, President Donald Trump talked about many of his accomplishments that have strengthened the country, including ending 7 wars without help from the UN.
It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle, and then a teleprompter that didn't work.
The U.S. Secret Service dismantling a plot in New York City this week. C.B. Cotton reports.
The Secret Service says this telecom threat was uncovered as agents investigated telephone threats directed towards U.S. government officials. The investigation led them to a chilling plot that, yes, could have crippled New York City's phone lines, data networks, even emergency channels, with world leaders now here in New York City for the United Nations General Assembly. The investigation began this spring, and agents raided multiple locations within 35 minutes of the UN, seizing hundreds of servers and more than 100,000 SIM cards, tools capable of blasting out 30 million anonymous text per minute.
Turning Point USA held its first event since the death of Charlie Kirk at the University of Minnesota on Monday. Political commentator and Kirk associate Michael Knowles.
This event was originally supposed to be a conversation between me and Charlie. Now it will be a conversation about Charlie. He wanted to be remembered for his faith. He wanted to help as many souls to heaven as he could. If you want to honor Charlie, go to church, read the Bible, pray, and do it right now.
Campus Reform correspondent Sam Spainer attended the event.
The atmosphere last night was electric. I think there was a lot of pressure for the team who was putting this on to, after everything that happened with Charlie, this is the first event. And I think it went the best it could. I mean, honestly, it was phenomenal.
Meanwhile, NBC News continues to say that the Charlie Kirk assassin was not a radicalized leftist. Steve Jordahl reports.
On Saturday, NBC News published an article with the headline, quote, "No evidence found yet of ties between Charlie Kirk's shooting and left-wing groups," officials say. Tim Graham of Media Research Center says that could be technically true in that there may have been no communications between Tyler Robinson and the groups that advocate for violence on behalf of the transgender community, but there is absolutely no doubt Robinson was radicalized by the groups and was a far leftist himself.
The media has engaged in an aggressive effort to deny that the shooter of Charlie Kirk was on the left.
NBC says it got the information from, quote, 3 sources familiar with the probe. Graham says that's getting to be a tired old trope.
This NBC News is like, one person familiar with the investigation said there's no evidence. I'm so tired of this one person familiar with the investigations. I'm a janitor in the hallway and I overheard something.
He says the article is so misleading, he doubts there really is a source at all.
What NBC News is doing, let's just say it. They've got some Democrats in a room and got the Democrats to say stuff they thought would be helpful to the Democrats.
Graham says it shows the true nature of the left.
These people don't care about what's true and what's false. They care about which side they're on.
Authorities in New York's Long Island Monday announced the results of a drug bust that included enough fentanyl to kill more than 40,000 people. Suffolk County District Attorney Raymond Tierney says police arrested 2 people with more than 50 combined charges.
These 2 defendants allegedly stood ready to feed vulnerable users every need with a toxic cocktail of a number of illegal substances, all of which are deadly.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
If we lose this cultural war, we're going to have a hedonistic, humanistic society.
Discover the story of the culture warrior Don Wildmon and how he went head-to-head with Hollywood, Playboy, the homosexual agenda, and the Disney empire. The movement Don started paved the way for Christians to boldly stand for truth and righteousness in a hostile culture. Watch Culture Warrior today for free. Visit culturewarrior.movie.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. I'm Tim with Wesley Wildmon, Ray Pritchard, raised in Kansas City. We're in Tupelo, MS, and Steve Paisley Jordahl joins us in studio now. Good morning,
everybody. Good morning.
Brother Steve, how you doing, man?
Man, it's a busy day. I'm doing well, thank you.
Busy day in the news department.
Always.
What's the number one story out there?
I wanted to clean some stuff up I wanted to finish or talk about some stuff that's following the Charlie Kirk Memorial, if I can.
Go ahead.
Well, no, actually, let me start here. If just a prayer request I'd like to put out there. I just saw this on Christian Post. There is a author and theologian that many of you may have heard of. His name is Christopher Yuan. He used to be gay. He came to know the Lord. He changed his life, and now he's a theologian. I think he teaches maybe at Western, I'm not sure, or Moody. He's a professor at Moody. He had an accident the other day and had a fall at his house, and at the time of his tweet, he could not move his legs. He was it was a pretty bad fall. He's in the hospital, and so I'd like to just, I don't know, Ray, do you know who Christopher Yuan is?
Absolutely, friend of mine on Facebook. Tremendous man, tremendous testimony. Wrote a book called Holy Sexuality.
Yeah.
Defending and explaining from his point of view as a formerly gay man and now a committed follower of Jesus what it means, what sexuality and holiness mean when they come together. Great man, and I now think desperately in need of our prayers.
Have you seen the post from this?
Yes, I did. I saw it, and I think he's maybe going into surgery sometime today.
Something about something fell on his chest.
He was in, like he was some kind of, it sounded like a weightlifting kind of
I think that's
exercise apparatus.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Anyway, prayer for Christopher Yuan out there if God leads you so. I came across a tweet on my Twitter feed. I thought I read it to you guys this morning. It moved me, and I thought I'd like to read it. This is in the follow-up to the Charlie Kirk Memorial. And, of course, millions of people around the world watched the memorial. And there was a lady named Sana Ebrahimi, she's Muslim, she says. I don't know that she's just someone who watched and tweeted this out. She says, I listened to Erica Kirk's full speech at the memorial, and I want to share a few thoughts that came to me while live streaming the event. This is not political. She's not trying to be political. First, I should say that I grew up as a Muslim in a Muslim country. I don't know enough about Christianity to say if what I witnessed is rooted in faith or culture. Hint, it's faith. But what struck me most was how even though death is heavy, and this was by nature a sad occasion, the entire event carried a celebratory spirit that honored life. That contrast hit me deeply. In Islam, we, even though we believe that good people go to heaven, the relationship with God is taught through fear. Funerals are overwhelmingly sad, often filled with warnings of the terrifying first night in the grave. Growing up hearing that and then witnessing people celebrate life, speak of God's love and remembering someone through the impact he had on others, it felt so refreshing, so positive. Secondly, I was profoundly moved by Miss Erica Kirk's words. I cannot fathom the strength it takes to stand and deliver such a meaningful speech after losing the love of your life. But even more than that, the grace it takes to forgive the very person who destroyed your world. I cannot imagine myself standing on a stage, sending love to those who cheered your husband's murder or inviting others to spread God's love in response because, as she said, quote, we do not respond to hate with hate. That is powerful beyond words. Again, I'm ignorant when it comes to Christianity, but if this is what it truly embodies, then I am envious of those who get to experience that feeling.
Who were you quoting again, Steve?
This is a lady. Her name is Sana Ibrahimi, and she's nobody
says she's a Muslim, and she's looking at.
Woman.
She watched the Charlie Kirk Memorial, and she's Ray. She's
specifically the portion of Erica's speech.
She probably watched the whole thing.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah.
But Ray, she's that's a Muslim woman observing the difference between a Christian funeral service and a Muslim funeral service.
Somewhere during the service, someone said, "We do not grieve like the world grieves. We sorrow, but not as those who have no hope."
Amen.
And I thought hope was the overriding message. Mm-hmm. Deep hope, hope in Jesus Christ, hope in the resurrection, hope because death for the believer is not the end, but is the beginning of a life together with the Lord Jesus forever. And you know, Steve, I just been scrolling along Facebook, and I have run into a number of people just like this woman who I ran into one woman whose name escapes me right now, but she said, "I'm not a Christian, but I'm very curious and I'm very interested because of what I saw on Sunday." And I believe there are going to be thousands and thousands of people who maybe today have not yet come to Christ, but in the days to come, the Holy Spirit's going to draw them because of what they saw at Charlie Kirk's funeral service.
Ray, you and I talked yesterday off the air about a story that's running today. The first pastor, Rob McCoy, gave an invitation, and several people around the auditorium apparently stood up. They didn't show camera, but I'm assuming thousands of people stood up. And Ray, you and I had a conversation yesterday because Erica Kirk said, "Water the seeds of the newly found faith. And shepherd these people. If you're a Christian, you need to shepherd these people." And my question to you yesterday, and I just love if you can spend a minute and a half here kind of rehearsing what we talked about, is what is the responsibility of a Christian when they meet a new Christian or if they know someone that has accepted Christ?
Let's suppose that you were there at that service and somebody near you stood up, family member, friend, loved one, somebody who came with you. I think Erica was exactly right. These are, if you think of the image of a plant, this is new life. This is new life in a person's heart created by God. So what is our obligation? To love them, to encourage them, to stand by them. The one thing we must not do is leave them alone. Come alongside. Read the Bible with them. Look, it's one thing to say to a new Christian, "You need to read the Bible." Well, they don't know. They don't know where to begin. So you sit down with them. You open up to the Gospel of John, or you read the 23rd Psalm, or you read something from, maybe you read 1 Corinthians 13 with them. It almost doesn't matter. One of the greatest things, Steve, we can do for new believers is teach them to love the Word of God by reading it with them and then by praying with them. And I think third, and this is where you got to get to, find a community of believers, gospel preaching, Bible believing, Jesus loving church filled with the Holy Spirit, because there's nothing better for a new Christian than to be in the hothouse atmosphere with brothers and sisters who know Jesus and love him and are worshiping him together. There's so much more we can do, but let's start there. Let's read the Bible with them. Let's pray with them, and let's get them to a place where we together can see the joy of the Lord unleashed in their hearts as they worship in the power of the Holy Spirit, and those new Christians will begin to grow.
I would be curious to know the numbers. I don't know that we ever can, though, of people who watched at least part of the Charlie Kirk Memorial on Sunday afternoon. Again, it was in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was held at the big football stadium.
You'll probably
out
get
there.
some raw numbers. I think when you get into asking that, you've got multiple different platforms. Now you got social media, Instagram, things like that. But we could probably get some raw numbers.
It went around the world.
Absolutely.
But I know that somebody texted me yesterday and said that CNN did carry it. I didn't know.
On their
CNN.
streaming network, I think. I don't think
Yeah,
they carried it on there.
that's where I watched it, actually, CNN 24/7 or whatever it's called.
Okay. What about on the TV station?
No, in fact, I don't know if this is the whole thing, but I started watching it on Fox, and the commentators would come in between everything. So I ended up watching it on C-SPAN, at least here. But
okay,
CNN Plus did.
All right, so I didn't watch everything. I intended last night to go back and watch couple of the talk. I wanted to go back and watch Vance.
Ben Carson was there.
I did see Ben Carson. But I saw enough, Ray. I want to know that there were several of the speakers who gave a clear.
This is worth interrupting.
Interrupt me.
This is worth.
Okay, but just remember, I don't ever interrupt anybody. I would cite the same respect.
That has never happened.
But if you want to interrupt me, Wesley, let's see what you got.
Okay, I've read it 3 times, and then I read it a 4th time. Charlie Kirk's memorial. This is New York Post.
Okay.
Charlie Kirk's memorial drew around 20 million cable TV and online viewers, and if you separate and you just do online viewers such as YouTube and X, that was around 7.5 million.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it because
Steve found that for us.
It was the news story of the day, and everybody heard about it.
Back to your point.
But, yeah, back to my point about there were several of the speakers who gave a clear message about God and Jesus Christ. And so the gospel message, as we call it in Christian speak, Marco Rubio did. I heard him. Frank Turek, our own friend and colleague, Frank Turek, who hopefully will be on with us tomorrow or Thursday. We'll see. Because Frank, we played it yesterday. Frank was in the car. Frank was with Charlie Kirk in Salt Lake. At the Utah University where Charlie Kirk was assassinated, at Charlie's invitation, because he wanted Frank to go with him. Frank was tossing out caps with Charlie before before Charlie sat down, and then we know what happened after that. But Frank, and Pete Hegseth did too, the Secretary of War. They don't call it the Secretary of Defense anymore. It's the Secretary of War. It's the War Department, right? I think they changed it.
I think Congress has to actually make a change.
Well, whichever one you call it, he's the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War. And Ben Carson, too. I heard him talk. Ben Carson. So now, and I heard Erica Kirk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, I want to go back and watch Vance. Did you see Vance, Ray?
Yeah, I did. And I thought he did a really fine job. I mean, the part about JD that I really liked, he said, I've talked about my faith in Jesus more in the last 10 days than in the whole rest of my life, which I think I can I'm sure that's true.
Yeah, he said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Since we're interrupting.
Go right ahead.
He said, I generally don't talk about my faith. It's a private thing. He's Catholic, I believe.
Yeah.
But I have talked, this is the occasion. If I'm ever going to do it, this is the occasion.
So is Marco Rubio's Catholic, and he's just preaching like Billy Graham up there. It's pretty amazing.
I listened to Ben Shapiro's broadcast. Ben is Jewish. He's an Orthodox Jew.
Right.
And he will say often on his podcast, I've heard him say it several times, I'm a Jew. I'm not a Christian. I don't believe in what Christians believe about Jesus. But if Christians are going to bring people to church, it's going to make our country better. So he's all in favor of Christians because there's a lot of them in this country going to church. But he played Marco Rubio on his podcast.
Wow.
So the gospel
went over a Jewish guy's podcast?
A Jewish guy's podcast.
About a Jew from 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, it was, I know there was some stuff on there. You had a 4 to 6 hour memorial, right?
Very long.
There was some stuff on there. You're not going to agree with everything everybody says when you have one speaker after another, or the style in which they do it. I didn't care for the fireworks, going off. And I think President Trump, God bless him, he just he doesn't fit in that kind of environment. He's focused on the day's events of politics, and so it's hard for him to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we know.
That's not his wheelhouse. Okay.
Yeah.
But
he was clear about
He was, and to his credit, he sat there for 4 hours.
Right.
The President of the United States sat at somebody's memorial service for 4 hours, I think. So give him credit for that, for being there. And also, President Trump has a very friendly relationship with the evangelical and the conservative Catholic movement in America.
He and Charlie were good friends. Charlie would call him. He said, Charlie would call me and ask me to come out in 24 hours notice. And he said, Charlie, I'm the President of the United States. I don't do a good Trump.
Sure.
I've got better. But he says, off, and I would just drop everything and do it.
Mm.
So anyway, I wanted to know, you said how many people are said to have watched this?
20 million.
20 million. No, that's like I said, that's combining everything.
Yeah. Social media and the television.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know why I say that like it changes the impact. But
Right. Well,
20 million is 20 million.
Well, we used to not have the internet. The internet, it was just been television only. But anyway.
And there's no way, Wesley, to know how many more have watched or heard parts
since then.
of it.
That's true.
Since then, right? That's got to be many millions more. Since and this, we're 2 days later. Look, we're still talking about it.
Yeah.
It was a turning point. It was a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was a moment in American history. People say, do you believe this is revival? Well, the answer to that question is always time will tell. But if revival comes, Sunday was a good step in that direction.
All right, Steve, next story.
Let me just put a period on this to say that Turning Point USA has announced that they're going to finish the tour that Charlie was doing. You can go to Turning Point USA and see they're going to be University of Minnesota, Virginia Tech, Utah State, Montana State, University of North Dakota, University of Oklahoma, Indiana University, Bloomington, Louisiana State, Ole Miss, Auburn, and Berkeley.
Who's at that Berkeley one? I know the answer.
That's going to be Frank Turek and Rob Schneider. So,
Yeah.
but they have, for the most part, they have different people filling in. But if
Good for them.
they're going to continue on with that. Yesterday, we previewed this a little bit during our show yesterday, but yesterday afternoon, Donald Trump brought his medical experts out and stood in front of a microphone and said the following, cut 4.
Tylenol during pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary.
I'd like to split the conversation real quick up into 2 points.
Are you a doctor?
I am
Steve?
not. And this is
Okay.
No, don't
that's
do
my
that.
Second point. That's my second point.
I don't have to be a doctor and everything.
There are many doctors, there's many medical people that are pushing back against the medical claim that acetaminophen, let's not forget the brand names, but acetaminophen during pregnancy it helps increase autism. They came out with their own studies that said that it does. So that's an open question in my mind. And if they are grabbing some kind of a breakthrough on the cause of autism and maybe a potential lessening of those numbers, it is a historic breakthrough. That is separate from what I saw on TV yesterday, which is you just heard Donald Trump be a doctor to the country, and yet all the doctors standing right behind him. So
should he have been the one to talk about that, though?
No, I think it was a political. I think it was a self-inflicted wound.
How so?
You bring your medical team out if you stand by this and you say, this is Dr. Mehmet Oz, and we found that autism and acetaminophen are linked. Dr. Oz, would you tell us the details?
He didn't do that?
No, he has to take credit for everything. I think
Trump?
I think his ego got the best of him.
Are you talking about the same?
I might.
President
Yeah,
Trump?
I know. It's shock.
When did this start?
It just started at the UN today.
Yeah, right. Listen, I call it good Trump, bad Trump. With President Trump, here's how it is, especially for people who support him. It's, man, that's great. That's good, man. Wow, man, you're a beau. And then the next day you go, what in the world?
Right.
What did he just say? So that you take the good with the bad. There's very little bad. Most of it's good from a
policy standpoint.
From a policy and conservative point of view.
Yeah.
But yeah,
from a behavior standpoint.
During COVID, he couldn't help himself. I was going like, okay, you gave Vice President Pence the job of leading the COVID panel, and every day you walk in and take over his press conference.
He did do that.
I'm talking about Trump. You remember that?
Yeah.
I'm going like, dude.
Yeah.
And that hurt him, too.
Yeah.
That hurt him among the public because people wanted to hear from Vice President Pence and whoever else he had on his panel there. They didn't want to have so President Trump has that, I call it a weakness, but sometimes to talk about things when he needs to let somebody else talk for him.
Right.
Okay.
Right, sure.
And this is you're saying, Steve, that was your opinion of what happened yesterday.
I had to stop watching it. It bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it triggered you.
I was triggered. I am a Second Amendment supporter, but
listen,
it triggered me.
I don't know. We don't know what President Trump did yesterday that Steve's talking about. You heard him. He said Tylenol. I was surprised. That's a brand name, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a company. Are they going to sue him?
Well, yeah. So, to my knowledge, it is a brand name, but it's also.
Well, he's talking about the contents of Tylenol.
Right.
Okay, that's what I thought he would refer to instead of just talking about Tylenol, because that way you kind of avoid a potential lawsuit because Tylenol stock tanked yesterday.
Yeah, I bet it did.
Huh? When President Trump talked about this. So, again, I don't know enough. He cited studies. President Trump said we have studies to suggest.
Yeah, he
Tylenol. Taking Tylenol while you're pregnant with a baby can cause autism. That's what his point was, right?
And he did have his physician speak after him.
He did,
but it was well after him. Yeah,
he did. Which physicians?
Mehmet Oz, the CMS administrator, who's a medical doctor, spoke. Dr. Martin McCary.
Did Kennedy speak?
Kennedy might have spoken, but not. He did talk, but not in the context of being a medical doctor, which he's not.
Well, there's some reason for autism exploding, and we don't know exactly why it is. That's what Robert F. Kennedy's trying to get.
Some are more convicted about why it is than others. I mean, I have heard some people that are very passionate about, and they have their studies to prove that it has to do
the vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
I had a neighbor. Again, this is anecdotal. This is not scientific. But I had a neighbor. This is 15 years ago, and his son, he had like 4 children, and one of them had autism. And he said he was convinced, after all his research, that it was the getting so many vaccines in such a short period of time that contributed to the autism. Now, I'm just telling you that. I can't prove that. And he couldn't prove it. That was just his educated research of and he didn't care what the reason was. He just wanted to get to the bottom of it. He didn't have a political agenda on this issue. But you've heard it. A lot of people are very concerned about giving children all these vaccines, especially like together, one shot. All right, Ray, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tim.
Wesley, thank you.
Yep.
Steve, appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And Brent Creeley, our producer, want to thank him. And Chris Woodward, all 5, 6, 7 of him. Is that what he said he is?
6.
5, 6?
Right.
Okay. Shaylene was on with us.
Shaylene.
from Love Life, Alabama. What a wonderful lady. Shared her testimony with us. All right, we'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great day.
Hey, my name is Wesley Wildmon.
And I'm Walker Wildmon.